by the military-industrial complex.
It could be seen to move violently forward, violently forward, violently forward.
I'm just a patsy.
I've been there.
I said this once or twice, but it bears repeating. If you like your current insurance, you will keep your current insurance.
You think about the Army and the Navy and the missions they run to protect the world, they run on SAP.
Well, you have done a really spectacular job. I guess pretty much everybody at this table is your customer, so that's not so bad.
Exactly.
So I want to congratulate
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Oops. And I'm here on my own. I want to first ask people if you can hear my audio, because I'm not sure that well, somebody give me a thumbs up on the 5x5 or something on the audio. All right. Yes. Thank you. So I'm here by myself today, and I just noticed that I didn't turn the light off in the background. So give me a second. Professional show business here. All right, so George couldn't make it today. He's had some things come up. And so I wanted to do a podcast today anyway, because I wanted to talk about what I actually think is going on right now. I know that George is kind of in the thick of it with the current events. And as people who follow this show know that I don't pay as much attention to current events as I used to. Because I kind of think that it's all fake. And I understand that there were a bunch of missiles that went back and forth between Israel and Iran this week, and that it looked like World War III was going to start. And there were different memes going on. The show card has Donald J. Trump as George W. Bush and Tulsi Gabbard as Hillary Clinton. And the main reason that I put those memes up is because I think it's all fake. I think that these people are all actors, and that if it's on television, it's fake. Except for the part where real people get killed. There's real people getting killed in Gaza, and there's real people getting killed in Iran and in Israel. But the reason that they're getting killed is not the reason that they're telling you on television that they're getting killed. And so I wanted to go into that a little bit today, just in case people don't understand that. And this is where George Webb and I actually kind of part ways. Like, I don't agree with George on a lot of the current event things, because he gives credence and credibility to it. And I used to. I just simply don't. And so I wanted to start with this idea, and that is this patch, okay? This is the official insignia for, and again, this is the reason why I don't believe what's going on in television is what is actually going on. That is, I believe that people are getting blown up, but I don't believe that the reasons that they're giving you are correct. So this is the patch for the United States Central Command. Now, as I've said on this show before earlier, there's something that strikes me as completely obvious. And again, I'm looking at all of this stuff through my lens of epistemological warfare, which is like, how do we know what we know? Okay. And the background of this patch. Now, if I was to pull somebody out of grammar school and say, where do you think the Central Command of the United States of America is? I think that any kid would probably say, I don't know, Kansas. Kansas City, Wichita, Kansas, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Chicago, someplace in the middle of the United States. They wouldn't pick the map that's on the back of this patch. This patch, the area that is the background of this patch is an area of the world that Halford Mackinder in 1904 in his speech at the Royal Geographic Society called the Land of Five Seas. It's the, I have a list of the 5 C's here someplace I can go look. The 5 C's are, let me see, I thought I had it. Anyway, it's the Mediterranean. It's the Indian, is it the Indian Ocean? I don't know. Here we go. I found it. Black Sea, Caspian Sea, Aral Sea, Persian Gulf, and Eastern Mediterranean. Okay, so the question then becomes, why is this central to the United States of America with a big, very Roman eagle on the top of this shield with the stars and stripes? And that's because this area is central, but it's not central to American strategy. It's central to strategy that was called out by Halford Mackinder in 1904 by in that speech that I was talking about. And he called this area the pivot area, which basically means that, well, I'll explain it in a second. But Mackinder said that this part of the world is the most important. And by the way, in 1904, oil had not been discovered in the Middle East yet. Oil was barely kind of a resource. The Royal Navy had not been switched over to oil by Winston Churchill yet. And so most of the navies in the world, most of the shipping in the world was still running on coal at that time. So all of this was decided before oil actually even became part of it. But what Mackinder said is that, and I'll switch to a bigger map here. This is the map that Mackinder used to show the world. And he called this area in the middle of this map. We're all used to looking at the National Geographic version of the world, but this is the map that Mackinder, or it's close to the map that Mackinder was using. And he calls this large landmass in the middle, which is Africa and Eurasia, the great island of the world, because it's the single largest landmass that's contiguously joined by land. And so the British Empire, which is just the latest version of the Venetian Empire, which is the latest version of the Roman Empire, because the oligarchs that run this empire just kind of slough off empires as they well, let me just put it this way. I think that one of the metadata epistemological concepts that I figured out is that they will use an organization like the United States of America until it's no longer convenient, and then they will drain it of all of its resources and throw it away like so much refuse. So I think that that's what happened to the Roman Empire. I think that that's what happened to the British Empire. But the power base of the Roman Empire, the Venetian Empire, of the Anglo-Dutch Empire, and then the Anglo-American Empire, it's all the same families. It's all the same bloodlines. It's all the same people. So they slough off these empires as if when they're no longer necessary. But the geography of the planet Earth doesn't change. And the reason that I wanted to talk about this map today is because geography is destiny, okay? And because this is something that you cannot undo. And so the reason that Mackinder said that this area, this pivot area, is so important is because if you're controlling, your economic control over the world is dependent on making sure that all goods and services are going over the blue parts of the map. You have something called a thalassocracy, which just means an economic engine that's driven by moving commerce over water. Then what you want to do is you want to create as much havoc as possible in this part of the world. And so what do you have in this part of the world? You have Israel and what people are calling the greater Israel. Griffin says a Thalassocracy. Maybe. I've had that thought before. That would explain all of the obelisks, right, Griffin? So here, I'll put Griffin's... I think that he thinks he's just being funny, but he's actually thinking. So you get points for that one. Anyway, the Thalassocracy wants to make sure that there's as much chaos as possible. So if Mackinder points out that if the people in Europe and Russia and China and India and the Middle East and Africa ever all got together and started working together, then the economic engine that is driven by controlling the blue parts of this map no longer are viable. And so the Thalassocracy won't have any power anymore over the economic engine that's driving, which is where all of their power comes from. And so what they need to do is that they need to make sure that there is much chaos here as possible. Okay, so why is this important? Because getting back to the original idea, which is what's going on television real? If you understand that creating chaos here is the name of the game, then what's going on in Ukraine makes perfect sense. What's going on in Gaza and in Iran right now make perfect sense, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to make sure that that Russia and China and Europe and the Middle East and Africa never get together. And so for 200 years now, at least, it's longer than 200 years, but it really got organized. Let's say it got organized in, 1898 with Cecil Rhodes, and maybe a little bit earlier than that with the Fabian Society. But it goes all the way back to Fabius Maximus. Fabius Maximus is 140 BC, so pre-Christian, right? The Romans understood this. And so, yeah, D.E. Sacconi is saying rule by sea, yeah. Navy, East India. So all of this stuff that's going on in the Middle East right now is about this, okay? The CENTCOM patch is not an accident, okay? I actually, let me pull this down and share something else. I actually asked GPT. Now, full disclosure, my GPT is biased because I have memory turned on, which means that it pays attention to the things that I put in there. But if I go to my notes on the Duke report and I scroll down to, let me see if I could find it. I just saw Matthew Crawford there. I should be doing a show tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific with Matthew Crawford also. So I just thought I'd get that out there. Where's my CENTCOM note? I have been posting too much here. CENTCOM, here we go, CENTCOM. So I asked GPT, if CENTCOM is not central to the U.S. command structure, then the question becomes central to whom or what? And I was as surprised as anybody. And again, GPT pays attention to me and what I'm talking about. And it says the answer lies in British imperial geostrategy, which heavily influenced the United States post-World War II military footprint. Yes, especially when, as many people have theorized, the British assassinated Franklin Delano Roosevelt and installed Harry Truman in order to make sure that Winston Churchill could execute his Cold War strategy. CENTCOM is quote-unquote central in the sense that it was designed to control the strategical central region of the Eurasian landmass, Middle East, Central Asian, and parts of North Africa, which was long viewed as the geographical pivot of empire, okay, of empire, okay? Not the United States of America interest, the empire's interest. So we're living in an empire. And there's a TV show called The Republicans and the Democrats right now that wants us to believe that we don't live in an empire, that we live in a democratic republic, and that we've elected all of these people. But I can tell you that I think that when I look at Trump and I look at Trump's cabinet, that it seems to me to be caste. I mean, the word is caste. Tulsi Gabbard is an attractive woman who seems to be completely unqualified for the job that she's got. Same with Pete Hegseth and a lot of the other ones. The bankers, those people are all eminently qualified. But the people who are the front face of the military and the intelligence community, completely unqualified. And that's why I just think that they're cast. I think that it's a TV show. And Trump, I've written about this before. Trump comes from 14 years on a television show where he was selling the idea of non-cooperative game theory, which is it's a spin-off. It's by John Nash, and it's a spin-off of game theory, where we're being conditioned to think that the corporate kind of dog-eat-dog mentality is the best way to run a government. So I don't believe that Donald Trump is in office by accident. I don't believe that he accidentally beat Hillary Clinton. I don't believe that he had the election stolen from him in 2020. I don't believe that he was elected on the up and up in 2024. I just don't believe any of that anymore. And the main reason that I don't believe it, and you can call me a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist and any of the epithets that you want to use, but his first presidency was 45, and 4 plus 5 is 9. And his second presidency is 47, and 4 plus 7 is 11. So you put those two things together and you get 9/11. And why do I think that that's weird? Let me see if I can find one more picture to share. Present. See if I've got this file set up. I may not. Senate, let's go Senate seal. I can probably just pull it up on a web page. That might be, here we go, Senate seal. Okay, let's put the Senate seal up. You can see there's crossed fasci on the bottom of the Senate seal, United States of America. And in Roman numerals, again, it's encoded, it says 9/11. Okay, so I've said on the show before that I don't exactly understand what 9/11 means. I don't understand what the esoteric meaning of that is. There are people that have posited guesses, and I've asked those people to give me citations or evidence for what that is. But you've got 4547 makes 9/11. You've got Roman numerals 9/11. You've got the buildings coming down in 2001 on 9/11. All this stuff means something. I don't know what it means. But if one assumes, again, you can, I've got my tinfoil hat on. Maybe I should go get some tinfoil. But if you put the tinfoil hat on and you figure out that, well, if they knew that Donald Trump was going to be the 45th and the 47th president, then they've been planning this for a long time. If they've been running this non-cooperative game theory, by the way, Mark Burnett, all of his game shows, I've written posts about it on the Duke Report. I can pull it up and show you those posts. If you understand that Mark Burnett is in the business of selling non-cooperative game theory in different formulations as kind of a mind-controlled operation, then it is. Then you have to take a giant step back and a deep breath and go, okay, they've been running this Donald Trump thing for 20 years, right? They've got these 9/11 things encoded into everything that they do for a long time. What does that mean? And to me, what it means is that our government is largely a television show that could take your stuff and kill you. And when we get to a point where we can understand that that's what we're dealing with, then maybe we'll be able to do something about it. But as long as we're in the rah-rah Trump, or Trump is a good guy, or Trump is a bad guy, or Tulsi Gabbard is a good girl, or she's a bad girl. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard, as far as, if you go to Wikispooks claims, and I don't have any reason to doubt this, that she's a World Economic Forum Young Global Leader and a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. And she kind of dances around that and makes pretense about how she got involved in those organizations. But that's metadata to me. And I learned how to analyze metadata from George Webb. And my metadata analysis is that if somebody's in the World Economic Forum and they're in the Young Global Leaders Program, and they're a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, which is where bad news for Americans has been coming since 1921. I think it was founded in 1921. Then basically what you've got is you've got a mind control operation, and these people are actors, and they are delivering lines, and their intention is to make sure that you are continuing to be engaged with them. Because as long as you're engaged with them, then your attention is focused in the wrong place. And as soon as you stop focusing your attention on them, you can start to use your critical thinking skills and try to figure out what, if anything, that we can do about that. So with that, maybe I'll go and see if we've got some questions here. I see 3-starred comments. Somebody says, Mr. Duke, are you aware that the intelligence used to justify the initial strike was provided by Palantir, allegedly? I like how you say the intelligence used to justify the initial strike was provided, and then you put allegedly at the end. I would just start with allegedly. And people who follow me on social media know, and I disagree with George on this. I don't actually believe in nuclear weapons. I believe that you can use uranium and plutonium to boil water, and I believe that you can build nuclear power plants with it. But the evidence that I present on the Duke report, and I could probably bring that up. Let me see if I can. Is that and I have to credit Mark Kulak for this, because Mark Kulak is the one who got me to start thinking this way. Let me see. I'm looking for Hiroshima archive. Let me share the screen, show you how I get to it. So I go from the Duke report. I click on this button up here. I've got to share it. All right. So in the upper right-hand corner here, it says archive. And so if you click on archive, you get a list in reverse chronological order. And I'm just going to type in Hiroshima. Exposing the real story of Hiroshima. So there's a book by this guy named Michael Palmer, and he wrote this book called Hiroshima Revisited. And I've got a video from Michael Palmer. I've got links to his book. I have a summary of his book, and I have a SoundCloud podcast that I created. And I'm going to talk about the SoundCloud podcast in a second. And you guys could go and you can judge for yourself whether or not you think that nuclear weapons are real. Michael Palmer does not say that nuclear weapons are not real. Michael Palmer says that he thinks that the Hiroshima explosion was not nuclear. Okay? And if the Hiroshima explosion was not nuclear and the Nagasaki explosion was not nuclear, then you have to start asking yourselves the question, well, are nuclear weapons actually real? Okay, so To answer your question, Caravaggio, I don't even know that nuclear weapons are real. And so I know that there are pictures of holes that go into the ground, and that Tulsi Gabbard was saying that Iran doesn't have the capability of building a nuclear weapon, and maybe the wink there is that it's because nobody does. It's because nobody does. And so she's not lying when she says that. And as I said to George in a previous show, it makes me wonder whether or not all of the leaked information by James Angleton about the 250 pounds of uranium that supposedly got, or kilograms, I can't remember what the amount was, from the Apollo factory that was supposedly snuck over to Israel so that they could build nuclear weapons. I honestly, I just don't really think that nuclear weapons exist. I think they're fake. So if nuclear weapons are fake, I don't care whether it was Palantir or, I think Palantir uses database information that it scrapes. I think Palantir is much more of a threat to you, Caravaggio, than it is to the Iranians. I could be wrong. But I just look at it all as just confusing information, which is why I don't pay any attention to it. So I don't know if I've answered your question or not, but that's what comes to mind. Here we go. D.E. Saccone. The Iran-China Railway. I think I've seen you do this before. The Iran-China Railway was completed in late May. What timing? This is like the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Okay, if you understand this, okay, then bombing the Nord Stream 2 pipeline makes perfect sense. Because what you don't want, the top red line there is Europe connecting to Russia. What you don't want is Europe becoming dependent on Russian oil. Okay, because if Europe becomes dependent on Russian oil, then you're getting close to the land-based version of a thalassocracy is something called the tellurocracy, like Telluride, Colorado, a tellurocracy. So the enemy of the thalassocracy is the tellurocracy. So the Nord Stream 2 pipeline increases the chance of having a tellurocracy. The Iran-China Railway was completed in late May. What timing? Now, I hope you're not getting that information from ChatGPT, because I think that I saw somebody, that's where I saw this information before. Somebody was telling me that they asked ChatGPT this question. And I want to talk about that a little bit in a second, about ChatGPT and about how I use ChatGPT as opposed to the way that I see some other people using it. But so let's check that. Give me a citation, Saccone. If you're getting that from ChatGPT, I'm going to tell you flat out I don't believe it until I see it someplace else. So, but it may be true. So let's find out. Angus said, "Where is 9/11 in the Senate?" Okay, here we go. On the bottom here, do you see the crossed fasci? Okay, so I've talked about this before. Most people don't know what the word liberty means. I believe that liberty is the bastard child of the word freedom. And now somebody's asking me about the Wes Anderson movie. I believe that liberty is the bastard child of freedom, because freedom is our inherent our inherent ability to change our mind about what we believe and what we don't believe. And liberty is freedom that is given to you by a higher power. And so then the question becomes, who is the higher power? In the United States of America, it's pretty ambiguous, because in the Declaration of Independence, it says, the laws of nature and nature's God are your higher power. And in the Constitution, it just says the federal government is the higher power. But in any case, the bounds of liberty, so that is, liberty is freedom that is bestowed on you by somebody else. Okay, my assessment, and this is where I would take exception with Melissa Dykes, who I admire and think is a fantastic filmmaker. Her current Twitter icon is a picture of herself wearing this red Liberty cap. I believe that the Liberty cap means that it is freedom that is bestowed on you by the oligarchy that runs the world. And to reinforce that, I will tell you that if you wear that cap in with the floppy part of it going in one direction, it's called a Phrygian cap. It comes from Phrygia, which is Anatolia or Turkey. If you turn the cap the other way, it becomes the Doge cap, which is the Corono Docali, which is the cap that is on the Doge. Who's calling themselves the Doge in 2024, 2025? You know? And furthermore, I think that if you look at a crown, if you look at the crown of the King of England, for example, it's a Phrygian cap. It's purple in the case of Great Britain, but it's got a golden cage on it. And what that represents is that the person who wears that hat they've been given the liberty of being the monarch. That is, somebody gives King Charles the liberty of being the monarch. Who gives King Charles the liberty of being the monarch? The oligarchy. It's the same oligarchy that's been running the world for 2,000, 3,000 years now. Okay? So I don't like the word liberty as opposed to the word freedom. I don't believe that the Statue of Liberty that sits in New York Harbor is actually there is no God named Liberty. Okay? There's a castrated shepherd in the cult of Cybele and Attis, named Attis, who looks exactly like the Statue of Liberty. But I believe that the word liberty is a canard. I think if you want to talk about human rights, you should be talking about freedom. And you shouldn't be talking about liberty unless you're willing to determine and point to who you think you get that liberty from. Then I think it's a legit conversation. The question is, where's the 9/11 on this? If you see the crossed fasces on the bottom of the seal, the fasci, which is the symbol of fascism, okay, which is on the front, has leather straps, and the leather straps are indicating IXXI. IX is 9, XI is 11. 9/11, okay, on the seal of the Senate of the United States of America. Okay, so 9/11 is some esoteric number. Okay, somebody out there in the world can tell me what it is, but I don't know what it means. I just know that it's there. And once you see it, and by the way, you can take a look at these fasces, because they're on everything. They're all over the Senate. They're all over the Congress. There's statues of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln in the Lincoln Memorial. His hands are sitting on top of fasces. Okay, they're all over Washington, D.C. They're all over the world. Okay, but on the Senate seal is the only place where I've seen the straps encoding the 9/11. You don't see this encoding on other fasces. You only see it in the Senate. So I hope I've answered your question, Angus. So let's see. Arthur Stone always has great comments. The 9/11 on the cross fasces is also a palindrome, the same forwards as backwards. Yes. Able were I ere I saw Elba. There's another Napoleonic palindrome. Somebody said Corbett. I don't know what that means.
You asked where he got his information from before.
So yeah, what?
He's telling you where he got his information.
He got his information from Corbett. Corbett's a great source. Corbett's where I get a lot of my stuff. Caravaggio says, Mr. Duke, have you watched the new Wes Anderson movie, The Phoenician Scheme? No, but I want to. I believe you would get a kick out of it. I believe you're right. And it's funny because I was thinking about this I was thinking about Tom Petty. I was thinking about Signature Reduction, Tom Petty, and the song I Need to Know. Is it I Need to Know? How does the lyric of that song go? I Need to Know by Tom Petty. What does that have to do with the Wes Anderson movie, The Phoenician Scheme? I believe that as researchers start to get close to a lot of this information, that media properties get named and are themed in a way to completely cover up the ability for researchers to use search engines to find information. And so I think that a lot of the Phrygian cap, if you look at where Phrygia is, and you look at where Phoenicia is basically Tyre. So if you're reading the Old Testament, if you're talking about King Solomon and the Solomon's Temple, Hiram Abiff, who's a big part of free Masonic lore, and the three Jews, Jubail, Jubellum, I can't remember what they are. Somebody in the chat will remind me what they are. There's three Jews that are not spelled Jews. They're spelled Jeu something. I'll get them memorized. But then if I get them memorized, somebody will accuse me of being, Jason Goodman will accuse me of being a Freemason. Anyway, what happens is that if you're trying to do any research on Phoenicians now, you're going to wind up being buried in references to this movie. So it's going to become very difficult for you to research Phoenicia. And the reason that I was listening to thinking about the Tom Petty song was because one of the attributes of a Jesuit system of organization is to put things into need-to-know cells. And so by creating a song that has lyrics, I need to know, and then dumping that into the same corpus of data with people who are trying to research things like need-to-know security clearance, you're going to wind up creating a bunch of noise in the system. So I'm interested in seeing the Phoenician Scheme. It looks like a really funny movie. I like Wes Anderson movies, and I will be checking that out. All right, let me see if there's any other questions. So Aaron Adler is saying the fasci is stronger together. This is an Aesop's fairy tale. Okay, so there's a book that I reference in, let's go back to the Duke Report. Add to stage. Here we go. I think I got to get rid of one to remove, add, go back to here, go to the Duke Report, and I'm going to go to Fasces. And the story is this: how lictor justice bounds the limits of liberty. Okay, and so my current appraisal of this symbol is that liberty is freedom that is bestowed on you by the federal government as determined by the Roman Empire that really controls things. We can call it the Anglo-American Empire or the Anglo-Dutch Empire or the Venetian Empire. It's all the same. It's just different versions of the same thing. And that liberty is bounded by fasces. And the fasces, the Aesop's fairy tale is that it's a bundle of sticks, because when you put a bundle of sticks together, it's very hard to break. It becomes impossible to break. But if you take a look at this book, and there's a fasces with an axe. The axe is a very important component of the fasces, whether or not it has an axe. This is the pediment to the Department of the Supreme Court. This is the pediment of the United States Supreme Court. And there's a fascie with an axe, okay? And you can see that the straps on the fascie on the Supreme Court do not have the same IXXI configuration. It's only in the Senate that they have that. And here's lictors carrying their fasces for the emperor. And here's a video that you can watch on the history of the fasces. And here's the lictor. I'm looking for it. U.S. Tax Court. The symbol of the U.S. Tax Court is the fascie. And you can see this is XX. This is not IXIX. But it has the axe. And the axe is very important because the axe indicates that they can take your head off. So the fasces are actually riot kits. So these guys Let me find these guys here again. So these guys are called lictors, and they march around with these riot batons. And what happens is that if the mob starts to get out of control, if their freedom exceeds the bounds of their liberty, then the straps come off of these sticks and they become riot batons. And then you wind up using the riot batons in order to control the crowd. So what the fasci indicates is the limits of liberty. So you're free to do what you want to a certain limit. If you get to that limit and you exceed that limit, we're going to beat you with a stick. And if you continue to exceed your limits and the stick beating isn't good enough, then we're going to cut your head off with the axe. And that's what that means. That's what this means. Okay? Liberty means we're going to give you this much freedom. And the fasces on the bottom say, if you exceed that, we're going to beat you or we're going to cut your head off. That's what that means. Okay? It's right there. Okay? Let me see if there might have been one other thing on this page I wanted to show you. I'm just scrolling down. I'll just share it again. You know, it's an interesting. Oh, I was looking for the cover of the book. Here we go. I'll go back to the top. The first link. If you click on the first link here, it will take you to this book, which is written by this guy named T. Corey Brennan. T. Corey Brennan was a guitar player in the band the Lemonheads, and I believe that the Lemonheads' only hit was "Hello, Mrs. Robinson," which was a cover from the movie The Graduate. And this book is published by Oxford. And as I think that I've said on this show before, I think that Oxford is the Pentagon. Oxford and Cambridge are the Pentagon of epistemological warfare. And so this is a great book. I highly recommend it. And it seems to be like the only book that's actually written on what fascists are all about. And I think that that's, again, part of this epistemological warfare program, because in World War II, Mussolini made the fascists famous at the same time that they were putting them up on the wall in Congress. And then when the Mussolini thing didn't work out, then they wound up having to make all of these excuses for why they put this symbol up on everything, when it's got a kind of a 3,000-year-old, really well-known history about what it means. You can also see on the fasci, the straps on the fasci on this cover. Let me see if I could blow it up here. You don't see the IXXI, do you? Right? It looks like NXN. NXN, right? Nixon? Is that Nixon? I don't know. Somebody? Anyway, so Aaron, it may mean stronger together, but it may have other esoteric meanings that go way beyond that. And why does it say add to stay or remove? There we go. So it may have other esoteric meanings that go beyond that. I think that that's what they tell you. Interesting. Jonathan Gibson, I want to know more about this. Because in the cult of Cybele Addis, okay, so I should, if there's small children watching, I should probably tell parents, take your kids off this, and I should probably rate this for adults when I get done. In the cult of Cybele Addis, young boys are encouraged to cut off their own testicles and throw their testicles through the window of a stranger's house, and the stranger of that house is then required to clothe them in women's garments, which might be the symbolic interpretation of the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty is wearing a Phrygian cap. And so, Jonathan Gibson, that actually makes sense. Oh, Courtney did an ad show with Rebel Doctor. Okay. Okay. So we got to go find that. Courtney show with Rebel Doctor. All right. Yeah, the Sibelian cults. Yeah. So why are the Sibelian cults important? The Sibelian cults are important because they are the cult of the Praetorian Guard. The Praetorian Guards are the people who protected the emperors. The Praetorian Guards were the military troops that went along with the lictors to protect the emperor. Curiously, and maybe Jonathan Gibson, has the answer to this one too. I've been told, and I've researched this, but I haven't found a good citation yet, that the Praetorian Guard, who protected the emperors in the Roman Empire that we still live in, painted their shields red. And the German word for red shield is Rothschild, which would make the banking dynasty the financial Praetorian Guard that protects the power elite, the emperors, the oligarchy that actually controls the world. Again, I'm looking at the shield on the front of the Senate seal here, and it's red and white stripes. And usually they put stripes on something like that when it's half something and half the other. So it's half Rothschild and half whatever the white thing is. I don't know what that is either. But again, I keep looking at these symbols saying somebody put this together on purpose, and this meant something when they put it together. And so that's how I come to these kind of tinfoil hat conclusions that I come to. Fireman John says, the limit is thinking for yourself. Actually, if you think for yourself, you don't have any limits, or you could set your own limits. But that's why I don't like the word liberty. I like the word freedom. And I'm asking everybody who's listening right now, the next time that you're sitting at a table with a group of people, ask the question, how many people here know the difference between the word liberty and the word freedom? Because I think that the answer will shock you. And what's interesting to me is that I asked Guido Preparata this same question, a year and a half or 2 years ago. I got to get back with Guido. By the way, Guido Preparata is one of the great minds of our time. And I don't say that with any trepidation or hesitation. His books are the most important books that anybody can ever read at this point to understand what's really going on in the world. And he's suffered the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune for those things. So, if you haven't, Conjuring Hitler is a tough book because it's very academic, the rigor. But The Incubation of Nazism, which is his kind of Reader's Digest version of the same book, is an easy read. You can read it in a weekend, and I think that it's a fantastic resource. But why am I talking about Guido? I completely got myself off topic. What was I talking about earlier? We're talking about Addis, Sibel.
Thinking for yourself.
What?
Thinking, the comment, thinking for
Thinking
yourself.
critically. Yeah. The limit is thinking for yourself. It'll come to me in a second. It'll come to me. Let me see. Debbie asked a good question. With the trope, give me liberty or give me death, I know what most people will say what liberty means. Right. Oh, I know. Bringing it back to Guido. I asked Guido Preparata, a person who I put in the top 5 minds alive today. I asked him if, because he speaks many languages, and he lives in Italy. I asked him, in Europe, I said, is there a word like freedom? Because liberty is a Latin word, okay? Freedom comes from a Greek word, eleutheria, but the word freedom in English isn't replicated in a lot of in any other Latin languages. So Spanish, Romance languages. So Spanish, French, Italian. There's no word freedom. There's liberty, libertas. Okay, and that's a tell, because the hoi polloi who we belong to, the people out there in the world, they want you to think that liberty is the same thing as freedom, because liberty has strings attached to it. Liberty is something that can be given to you, and liberty is something that can be taken from you by whoever gave it to you. That's the difference. So try this the next time you're sitting at a table with a group of people. Ask them if they know the difference between the word liberty and the word freedom. And you could raise the stakes. You could say, hey, I'll buy dinner if anybody can, for the table, I'll buy dinner if anybody can tell me the difference between the two words. You can turn it into a bet. You can have fun with it. Okay. But the reason that I would encourage people to do this is because I think that asking questions is really the way that you get people to start thinking critically, which is what somebody else said earlier in the comments. But given that so much of our history has been rewritten by Rhodes scholars, so there's another book that I recommend, and I'll get to my SoundCloud in a second, called The Poisoned Loving Cup. And in that book, The Poisoned Loving Cup, it's about how the British systematically over 40 or 50 years sent a slew of Rhodes scholars over to the United States to take over the history departments of all of the major universities in the United States and rewrite American history. And it would not surprise me to find out that Patrick Henry, who's famous for saying, give me liberty or give me death, didn't actually say, give me liberty or give me death. It would not surprise me to find out that Patrick Henry actually said, give me freedom or give me death. And then somebody changed it to give me liberty or give me death. Because I think give me freedom or give me death makes more sense. Unless Patrick Henry wanted to just go along and set up his own. Things start to get fuzzy when you question who does the liberty come from, or by what is the liberty derived, right? Let me see. Fireman John says, read Forbidden Archaeology, invalidates Darwin. There's a lot of things that invalidate Darwin. Let me see. White Rose says, sometimes people are so immersed in their own lives they forget how to think critically. And this is where you can help them. It's nice to have intelligent fellows like yourself re-engage that ability. Well, thank you very much, White Rose. But the point that I'm trying to make is that I think that you can get people to engage by asking them really simple questions like, do you know look, I think that everybody should know the difference between liberty and freedom in 8th grade. Like, that should be like when you take your first government class in middle school, that should probably be the first thing that the teacher writes on the board the first day. Hey, class, what's the difference between liberty and freedom? Why doesn't everyone know that? That's the epistemological issue. That's that's why I look at things in this epistemological frame. How do we make decisions about things? How do we look at the Senate seal of the Senate of the United States and make heads or tails of it? Because when they tell you, oh, that's just an old thing and they just stuck it on there because, I don't know, reasons, that's not good. That's not good. Let me see. Debbie says, well, again, Debbie, what I'm saying is that I don't know that to be true, okay? It just doesn't make epistemological sense to me that he would say, give me liberty, or give me death, instead of give me freedom or give me death. Okay, that just epistemologically makes a lot more sense. JFB says, Fabians created the London School of Economics. The Fabians created everything, okay? All of this stuff goes back to Fabian, okay, which is, let me go bring the Duke report back up again. Let me see, add to stage. Maybe I have to take this one out. how do I get rid of this? Remove, add, go back. If we go back to, you just look up Fabius. Rome, here we go. Rome's epistemological warfare against the Greeks. So this talks about this book, another great book, okay? Another book by Oxford, okay? And it's this book, The Greek Slogan of Freedom and Early Roman Politicians in Greece. Politics in Greece, okay? Again, this book is an Oxford book, and it talks about how Fabius Maximus oversaw the implementation of a strategy by the Romans in Greece to replace two words that they used, eleutheria, which means freedom, and autonomia, which means self-governance. And the Romans conquered the Greeks, and they said, oh, we're not going to use those words anymore. We have our word is called liberty. And liberty is freedom that we give you. And you can have your liberty, but if you go outside the bounds of our fasci, then we can take it back. We can take our liberty back. And so this was started with Fabius Maximus. And the reason that I bring this up is because, Courtney and Matt Arrett and Cynthia Chung and all those people, they do an incredible job of talking about the Fabians and all of the way the Fabians have permeated all of the things that are going on. But they don't really touch that much on the epistemological warfare component of it. And that's because you have to go back to 140 BC. And the Fabian Society started like the 1880s, 1890s. So it's relatively recent. This is before Jesus. The Greeks were changing the definitions of words like freedom in order to change people's mindset. And, the logo of the Fabian Society is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Well, that's a 2,000-year-old idea, And so I look at people are mentioning Starmer and other people. The London School of Economics was created by the Fabian Society because their neighbor in London, Karl Marx, Beatrice and Sidney Webb, and George Bernard Shaw decided that Karl Marx didn't know anything about economics and that they needed to start an economics school so that they could, when they got the socialism thing going that they were working on, that they would have a good economist in place. So somebody's talking about Carol Quigley. Somebody's talking about Milner Fabian conspiracy, and and we're getting towards the end of the hour. We just hit 1 hour, and so I want to talk to you guys about another project that I've been working on that I'm really excited about. So I have been working on the Duke Report. Let me see if I can show it to you. I'll show you the current status. So, and my wife today just complained to me for the first time since our home burned down that she really misses the homepage of the Duke Report because she was trying to figure out what was going on by looking at Twitter. And so I've got two big projects on my plate besides my book, my taxes, and my insurance stuff that I'm working on right now. And that is the book section of the Duke Report, which I am rebuilding. And just to show you, this is Two World Wars and Hitler. For each book, I'm putting together a 1,500-word summary of the book. I'm using AI to read this to you if you're too lazy or disinclined to want to read it. And then for every book, I am putting together a notebook LM dialogue about the book, which is between 45 minutes and an hour long. In addition to that, if there are videos that have been made about the book, I am sharing the videos. And if there's a Kindle version of the book, there are previews of the book that are going on. But I'm going to jump back to the podcast for a second. So I'm using Notebook LM to build these things. My wife hates them. Okay. She loves to hate them. Okay. But and I understand exactly why she hates them. It's because the uncanny valley of them. I'll play a second of them here, and maybe you guys will understand why she dislikes them so much. But let me see if this.
Okay, let's dive in. When we think about the world wars, World War I,
do you guys hear this?
World War II, the picture we usually get from history class is, well, it's complicated, right? Tangled alliances, nationalism boiling over, geopolitical chess games.
Right. That's the standard narrative. Complex forces colliding almost inevitably.
Exactly. But what if that narrative, the one we've all sort of absorbed, is maybe closer to what some researchers call popular fiction?
Well, that's a provocative thought.
It is. What if these immense conflicts weren't just history unfolding organically, but were in fact deliberately engineered?
Okay. So the reason that my wife doesn't like these things is because these voices that I'm playing here are not real people. This is AI. And it's not perfect. Like it gets tripped up by things like WWI instead of World War I or WWII instead of World War II. But if you want to figure out what's going on quickly and you can suffer through these automated voices, okay, I have created this for you and it's available to you right now. If you go to the Duke Report, this is soundcloud.com/the Duke Report, or if you go to thedukereport.com, let me see, Substack, Duke Report, share this tab. If you look up at the top there, the 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth link on the top is SoundCloud. If you click on the SoundCloud link, it will take you right here. Okay? And I have put together a playlist. If you click on playlists, there's only one. Okay? And at this point, I have, I'm trying to figure, 55 books. I put 55 books in this so far. Like I said, most of them are between 45 minutes and an hour. JFB, if you don't like the AI voices, go read the book. I encourage you to go read the book. In fact, I encourage everybody to go read all of these books, okay? But I've got 55 books here. And if each book takes you 3 or 4 days to read, then you're looking at 200 days of your effort in order to be able to catch up, okay? But if you want to know what, Mackinder's report on democratic ideals and reality, what this map that I've been showing you is really all about, what this is really all about, okay, then this will explain it to you. Hang on, remove. This will explain it to you. It'll explain it to you in 17 minutes and 21 seconds. Okay, if you can suffer through the robot voices, if you can understand that, you know, sometimes they're gonna mispronounce something, or you'll get some kind of weird sound artifact. It does happen. It's not perfect. Okay, it's not even close to perfect. Okay, but if you guys sit down and listen to this playlist, you'll be right behind me. Okay, you'll understand what I understand. And I want to make this as easy and as accessible to as many people as possible. So if you don't like the robot voices, don't listen to it. I don't care. You're not going to hurt my feelings, okay? But for everybody else, if you want to catch up, okay, there, view 55 tracks. I've got the Hitler-Tavistock connection is on a Matt Ehret thing that I did. And I promised Matt Ehret that I wouldn't do this anymore, by the way. So if Matt is listening, I did this before I promised this to you. Anyway, I just thought, actually, I didn't do it on Matt's posting. I did it on Uwe's posting. 2 World Wars and Hitler, discussion, Mackinder, Democratic Ideals and Reality, The Genesis of World War, which is a book that came out in the 1920s that nobody's ever heard of, where American scholars started blaming the British for starting World War I. The Anglo-American Establishment, which I've just found out in the last couple of days, that book by Carroll Quigley was written in 1949, and it wasn't released until 4 years after he died in the 1970s. I didn't realize it was written that early. The Empire of the City, another book that was released, I think, in the 1930s or the 1940s, about how the City of London controls the world. The Federal Reserve Cartel and Its Solution, which is by another author that I...
Welcome to the deep dive.
I'm trying to remember the guy's name who wrote it. Anyway, Friendly Fire, about the secret war between the Allies. The Poisoned Loving Cup, which is the book that I talked to you about earlier, about how the Rhodes Scholarships were used to infiltrate American universities. The Milner-Fabian Conspiracy that somebody mentioned here on the channel. The Origins of World War I, Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Sidney Bradshaw. All of these books are referenced in the great book, Two World Wars and Hitler. That I'm pulling them out of the bibliography. Conjuring Hitler by Guido Preparata, A Man Called Intrepid. Historians' Fallacies Towards the Logic of History, and this is by I think a Harvard historian who was looking at what the British, he didn't know this was going on, but he was looking at what the British were doing to American history, and he was going, who's writing all this history? Okay, like, how are they coming up with these stories? And so he thought that we needed a discipline for history. Gangsters of Capitalism, Smedley Butler and the U.S. Empire, the plot to seize the White House, Lord Milner's Second War, Family of Secrets, The Secret History of the Bush Dynasty, Dope Inc., Britain's Opium War Against the United States. So 55 titles. I'm not charging for anything, okay? If you guys want to buy me a coffee, go to buymeacoffee.com/The Duke Report and buy me a coffee. You can buy as many coffees for me if you want. The best way to support me, if you don't want to do that, is become a subscriber to The Duke Report at thedukereport.substack.com. Or you can go to The Duke Report. Let me see. Share this instead. You can go to the Duke Report and you can click on Shop. And if you click on Shop, I've got t-shirts that you can buy. So there's all different kinds of ways that you can support me. But in any case, I want you guys to catch up. I don't want to be the guy that knows all this stuff. I don't want Matt Arrett and James Corbett, and neither do they, by the way. Okay, but the reason that I did this is because I think Notebook LM is just really one of the most powerful tools on the planet right now. And it's developed by the people who are trying to take us down. And if I can use their tools to take them down, then I would just as soon do that. So I encourage all of you guys to go out there, go to SoundCloud, start listening to this stuff. And by the way, you can do this too. I'll show you how I do it. How's that? Let me see. So if you go to notebooklm.google.com, then you can click. These are all the books that I've been doing. Okay. You can go to Create New, and you could do this with a Substack. You could do this with an article. You could do this with a PDF of practically anything. If you've got a big medical research paper and you don't really understand it, you could drop it into this. So you drop something in here. Okay, so let's, I don't know how fast this will work. Let's do Tragedy and Hope. Tragedy and Hope is a 1,300-page book, right? So we'll go to Tragedy and Hope. See if I have a PDF of that. Here, we'll just do... I see Tragedy and Hope. Here we go. So basically, you just drop it in, and you wait a minute. It has to chew it a little bit. Chew, 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 chew. By the way, if you do this, then you can upload them onto SoundCloud, and then you can share them with other people. okay? I don't need to own this. I don't need to make this the only resource on the internet where this happens, okay? But it'll probably take a little bit longer because it's 1,380 pages. But so you drop it in there, and once it's imported it, and it's got it all like set up. So when you put data into a large language model, that's called creating a vector. And I'm constantly criticizing people who are saying that they asked ChatGPT a question. Here we go. And this is the answer that it came up with. This is not the way that I use large language models. Okay, so now it has it's created tragedy and hope as a vector database, meaning the full power of the language model is being focused and pointed at this book. Okay, so it's not going out and looking at its training for figuring things out. It's only looking at the book. So what you could do is you can hit generate, and if you hit that generate button, it will automatically make a podcast. But what I do is there are some bugs in the model. So what I do is I hit customize. I hit customize, and you have a choice of shorter, default, or longer. I like the long ones because the longer that you give it, the more detailed it becomes in its analysis of the book. And then one of the bugs that I've discovered is that even though the name of the file is Tragedy and Hope, A History of the World in Our Time, it doesn't know that for some reason. So what I'll do is I'll type in the source is Tragedy and Hope. By Carol Quigley. And here's the secret sauce. The secret sauce is that it may know who Carol Quigley is, but you can steer the bias that it has on presenting the information by doing this. And what I'll do is I use this program called, let's see if I got a Quigley. Carol Quigley. In prompts. I'm sorry, I'm hanging you guys up. Prompt. Come on, Peter. Carol Quigley prompt. Anyway, I'll tell you what I do. What I do is I get a biography on the person who wrote it, and I paste it in there, okay, to give them credibility. So Carol Quigley taught it. He got his bachelor's degree, his master's degree, and his PhD at Harvard. He taught at Georgetown, Harvard, UCLA, not UCLA. Anyway. I basically put the person's resume in one sentence, and then I hit generate, right? If I was doing Anthony Sutton, I have it all pulled up, but I don't have my Carol Quigley prompt read. So you put that in there, and it's like okay. So I'll put Quigley. Okay, Quigley got his bachelor's. BA, master's, and PhD at Harvard. And then you tap, and then you hit generate. And this will take, it's a 1,300-page book. It'll probably take like 5 minutes. So I'm not going to sit here and make you go through all of this stuff. But this is the way that you make these things. I'm showing you how I make the sausage, okay? I'm showing you how to do this because I want you to do this. I'm showing you how to do this because I want you to figure this stuff out. And these things, time is our biggest enemy right now. And everybody should read Tragedy and Hope. It's 1,380 pages. It's a college textbook. It's not a fun read. Like, most people won't do it. Most people buy the book and they use it as a doorstop, okay? But if you could drop it in there, if you could take a book like Conjuring Hitler and drop it in there, okay, and then build something like this, I still think you should buy the book because Guido is a great resource. He's still alive. Carol Quigley is dead, okay? So whoever, if you're going to buy Tragedy and Hope, that's great. His publisher will make some money. Maybe somebody in his family will make some money, hopefully, okay? But Guido Preparata is married and he's got 2 daughters, and he could use your support. So, buy Incubation of Nazism. Don't just listen to the SoundCloud. But I think that if you go to any of these things, I put links to going and buying the book. So anyway, I will leave it there. I'll see if anybody's got any other questions. I'm just kind of rambling now. Where are we? How do I? Say what?
I didn't see any questions.
No questions. All right. So with that, I've told everybody how to support the channel. I'm glad that you stuck around till the end because if you got any last minute questions, ask them now.
Actually, an important one from Hunter Gatherers is about Zoom calls.
Hunter Gatherer has one about Zoom calls. Yes, I'll do one on. How about Saturday? Does that work?
Depends what time, but yeah.
Depends. Okay, depends on what time. Okay, I'm going to say Saturday right now, and I will send out an email about that. Okay, somebody said, sorry, which tool is this used? It's called Notebook LM, and it's at Google. So go to notebooklm.google.com and drop your book in there. Like I said, if you tweak if you hit customize and you tweak the prompt, tell it the name of the book and the author, and then zhuzh the author a little bit. Now, you may not want to zhuzh the author because, like, I was playing around with it yesterday, and I was doing Public Opinion by Walter Lippmann, and Public Opinion is a propaganda book. That is, if you read Propaganda by Edward Bernays, he tells you about how to make propaganda. But Public Opinion by Walter Lippmann is propaganda because he's basically talking about how the people who are against the League of Nations are all reactionary, crazy people, and that the media is supporting their ability to be reactionary, crazy people. So you got to be careful. I try not to steer it too much. Bertrand Russell, likewise. If you're doing if you look at my list, the Scientific Outlook or the Impact of Science on Society, the 2 hosts in Notebook LM, unless you tell them Bertrand Russell is a crackpot, evil person, he's Sir Bertrand Russell, Nobel Prize winner. It'll give him really, really high kudos, and it'll treat all the information in that book as if it's gospel. So you got to be a little careful with it. It's not perfect in any way, shape, or form, but it is fast, and you can make them fast. You can listen to them fast. I have SoundCloud loaded on my iPhone, and I have CarPlay in my car, and I have that channel set up as a bookmark, and I can just listen to those podcasts in my car. They're all in a list, so one will stop, and then I'll just go to the next one. And I listen to those things in my car. I just click the button and I can listen to it in my car. I turn it off as soon as my wife gets in the car because she can't stand it. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say thanks everybody, and I will see you next Tuesday with George, and he and I can disagree on something else. All right, with that, I will say hasta la vista, hasta luego, or whatever they say in Rome. Bye now.